to have a good dating life, you are incredibly wrong. And we're going to talk about why this happened, what exactly happened, and how he could have gone a different route instead of now being sued publicly for $50 million, endangering a lot of his podcasts, his ESPN gig, and so much more. I'm joined with Paul from Apex Mindset and Paul Bauer from the Come On Man podcast. We're going to get going right now. Stay tuned and don't touch that dial.
Connection established.
Make money, make muscles, learn game, hold frame. It starts with learning dating, and then you move on to something else to push humanity forward. That is the philosophy of modern life dating.
I am teaching you how to be strong. I am teaching you how to be powerful. So when bad things happen to you, you don't quit. Okay, because you don't know how. Because you don't know.
No, if I'm not going to explain to myself.
In normal conversation where people aren't sitting around and patronizing you because you're loud and obnoxious, and a lot of people don't want to confront you and tell you that. But I'll tell you that right now, young lady. You're very loud and obnoxious and you're rude.
You wanted to blow it up and make me seem like something I'm not, and I didn't appreciate that. But that's okay. You can do what you want to do for your content.
Oh boy, somebody's triggered.
And
She's triggered.
No, Adam sent me a clip.
You should want a woman that you can build with.
She can build me a sandwich.
My man,
it's common sense in every other country in the god world, but here you got to get out of god Venn diagram and be like, hey, don't post half-naked photos of yourself because you're gonna attract predators. All right. Welcome aboard, guys. We got a great episode today. We are live streaming across all platforms. Paul, come on, man. If you want to stream to your channel too, by all means. There's a back end.
I just kicked that off, so we should be good. Now I got to grab the thumbnail. I got a whole lot of work to do to set that up.
It's all good. Welcome everybody on Paul Come On Man's podcast channel as well. So, guys, thanks for being with me today. What a mess Mr. Sharpe seemed to have got himself into, huh?
Oh yeah. Well, this is a common problem, actually, that he's just getting publicized for. I made a little chart on it if you want to mess with it, but it's just the problem that you have with celebrities with high SMV, right? Which he is. You know what I mean? He's a high SMV celebrity with a lot of money, and it's the illusion of game because they get girls that will do stuff for them. They'll get girls who will be interested, but they're interested in the status and the money and the good time, the whatever, you know what I mean? Whatever the money can provide, the boat party or this thing or that thing, right? And so it attracts girls who are freaking after, gold diggers, whatever, who are after the lifestyle. And so they'll target these celebrities. They'll do that stuff. And these guys think they have game because they get laid and they get girls, but they don't realize that they don't have game until they get zeroed out, until they get sued, until they lose their relationships, right? Or whatever they get head over heels with some girl who's really just after him because she wants to take his shit, And that's the problem. It's a very common problem among celebrities. They don't, certain celebrities do, right? But they don't have game, most of these guys. And it's just because they don't need it until they need it. You know what I mean? And so they don't think they need it because they're getting access to vagina. But at the end of the day, though, that's causing them to crash and burn in different parts of their lives. We watch that with Jeff Bezos and his marriage breaking up. We watch it with people who are high value guys, a lot of money, a lot of status, a lot of fame, and they crash and burn all the time. Usually it's just from a wife, taking a bunch of stuff from them. But in this case, it's a very public girl who is clearly, after that bag and decided to, when she decided she was kind of through and got enough out of them, then she decided to go for $50 million with the lawsuit. You know what I'm saying? And she'll probably walk away with $1 million of shut up money. And what did she have to do? She had to open her legs and play the game with them for a little while, And that's it. And then she can cry assault. You know what I mean? After baiting this guy into race play and, a little bit of like dom sub, consensual violence in the bedroom, and then say, oh, he raped me. That'll be 50 million. And then he'll go, okay, well, we're not going to do that. How about we settle for $1 million or $2 million? Okay. Let me do that. I'm going to go pretend. Oh no, this girl was having sex with me and paying for stuff. That's it. I feel violated. I want 50 million. She's like, hush, hush. I'll write you a check for 2 million. Oh, I'm a victim. But thank you for my money. That's what's going on.
Like, man, this gave me, though, when you sent me that video, Apex, it was like deja vu from last year from, our friends in the manosphere space. Without naming names, I don't want to rehash old stuff, but I mean, the similarities of the story were almost identical, right? Yeah. Except for last year, instead of the grape allegation, it was, hey, you knocked me up and pay me millions of dollars, right? And they're trying to shake him down for whatever. And those guys had to get in, James Sexton to come square that away. So hopefully, James Sexton's available for this situation. But it's the same kind of thing, man. It's like guys out there, they always think that it's all about the money, right? Women only like guys with money, and that's because guys oftentimes will lead with the money,
right?
Especially if they have a lot of money to lead with. They're like, hey, they just go all out leading with that money. And so those guys become easy targets.
Yep.
Yeah. Even Kanye West recently was talking about it on his, he's going on these wild tweets and he was like, guys lead with money and clout. And then they wonder why girls only like them for money and clout. And it's like, profound words in today's times. What I mean?
Yeah, and like dating advice, my dating advice for someone who is a multimillionaire like Shannon Sharpe would be the same for a guy that makes $30,000 a year. It would be keep dates low investment at first,
Yeah, a lot of your advice.
Make her discover that you have a crap load of money. I mean, obviously, if you're at Shannon Sharpe's level, they know who you are. But still, make them earn that stuff,
Well, and that's the challenge, though, and this is where a lot of guys will have this mindset of, and it's just bad advice on the internet, in my opinion, but don't focus on girls, focus on making money, focus on being a high value man first. And then once you're a high value man, all the girls will come. Yeah, they'll come after your wallet. You know what I mean? So like once you have something to lose, because I've been in both spots. I've been in a place where I had nothing to lose, like most of my life. You know what I mean? And I, had to learn how to get girls doing that, right? And then I got.
Wait, you didn't have a Ferrari and you couldn't get girls because you didn't have a sports car?
Yeah, right. I know. I in fact, surprisingly, I managed to get girls who were very hot. In fact, without a Ferrari, I know.
You should start coaching online.
I should do that.
Did I
show guys how to do that.
Did I ever tell you guys about when I met my now ex-wife and how I convinced her to come out to San Diego, and I was in the Navy still, and I was living on the ship, and I was just dirt poor because I was like an E3 or something.
Nice.
She came out. I had no money. And so the first day she came out, I said, hey, why don't you take a tour of the ship and I'll show you the galley. We'll eat in the galley. It'll be fun. It'll be an experience. You get to see what the sailors are like. And we went through the chow line because I couldn't afford food.
Yeah.
And she loved it. She was like, "Oh, this is great." And she was eating on a US warship. It was a big thing. Like, you don't need money.
Well, Navy food's good too. So, it's not.
Well, 2 times a year. 2 times a year. It's good.
Compared
Christmas
to
and
Army
Thanksgiving.
food, bro.
Christmas and
Compared
Thanksgiving.
to Army
That's it.
food.
The Navy food is good. I went down to Kings Bay, Georgia when I was NJROTC, and I remember that because I grew up poor. I was like, "Whoa, look at all this food these people have on this warship. I should join the military."
Yeah.
It's an option, guys. It's an option.
Hey, it's better than being broke. But yeah, I think because that's my biggest thing. Okay, I'm just gonna say something here. So one thing that I don't like about this whole men's self-development space is like when Andrew Tate came in and he just started talking about things that are just straight up wrong. Like how, every girl's accessible because Instagram is out there. It's not the case. You need clout. That's not the case. You need to be jacked and shredded and 6 foot tall and 6-pack abs. And if you're not, you're just a beta male. You suck. You're never going to reproduce, whatever. Terrible advice because, I mean, logically speaking, the majority of guys that are reproducing and hooking up with girls are not 6 foot tall. They are not rich. They are not famous on Instagram or social media, right? And what Paul Bauer said here was really true about how, she came down there. She was elated to be there. It wasn't because the warship was nice. It's because she liked Paul,
Right.
And
it's all about how you frame the experience too. Like if you have good game, to do that properly. I mean, that's where there's I was a time when I was living in my car and getting girls, like it's just ridiculous. Yeah. But but that myth again is that, well, you have to have all these other things and then the girls will come. And again, like my experience too, now that I have something to lose, girls will definitely come and they'll come after your stuff, right? You have to have the game to be able to recognize who's who. I'm in a pretty good relationship with a very hot girl now, coming up on 3 years, right? But she was vetted out amongst a whole bunch of hot girls who were not good candidates, and some of those might have run me through the ringer in a different way. You know what I'm saying? You have to be able to recognize the genuine desire when it's there, and be able to recognize when you're in a good relationship where you've connected with another person on a deep level, rather than just having somebody who's there and who's pretty and you simp for her and then she pretends to like you. Like, guys are very oblivious in this regard. And you only get there through dating people and developing genuine connections with others. And it's what these guys are missing. It's all superficial, and well, they get taken for a ride. We're watching it happen right now,
Well, that's where spinning plates comes into play, right? Because if you're spinning plates, and a lot of guys will just complain about that. Like, oh, I finally got one girl. It took me forever to get one girl. And then all the other girls it's been so hard this whole time that they just give up on all that. They go all in on the one. Yeah. But you have to still keep trying to source women, however you're doing that. And if you don't, you can't stay sort of objectively detached enough to be able to evaluate which girl's actually showing interest in me.
Right. Well, it's because they're too focused on the end state. Run into this a lot too. I'm sure you do too. It's just they're focused on getting the girl rather than the process. The process is where the skill is developed. So you got to treat it like skill development. You know what I mean? I'm in a process of learning how to date and seduce and connect with others. And if I'm picking up on somebody or connecting, whether it's online, which, is one way, but not my favorite way, or in person, it's, how do I connect with this person on a deep level very quickly, build rapport. Like these are all skills, you know what I mean? And just like a salesperson, you can do really poorly in sales or do really well based on their skill sets. It's the same with guys in dating, but you only get there through learning the skill sets, but also practicing them. Doesn't mean you have to run through 1,000 notches, but it just means that you have to go on dates, meet people, connect with others, learn what that's like, you know what I mean? And go through a process of vetting different girls, having options, feeling what it's like to have options. Which a lot of guys don't have that, you know what I mean? They don't feel like they have options. And yeah, if you don't go through that process, and you wait till you finally get that job as an engineer that you worked hard for, and now I'm making 6 figures. Now it's time to learn how to date. Ooh, you know, good luck.
Yeah. It would have been helpful if you were working on those skills as you were getting that cool job, you know?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, you know? And that's where, like, I mean, I've had people I've liked before who have said that, like, oh, you know, like, just get to be a high value guy. Like, that was really popular a few years ago, was be a high value man. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, obviously girls shouldn't be your only focus. Your primary focus should be your main goal in life and your profession and or whatever your vocation is. I think that's good advice, but that doesn't mean, like, for example, I'm going to go for my dream and I'm going to chase my dream and chase what I want, but I'm never going to go to the gym. In fact, I'm not going to go to the gym or eat correctly until I make $1 million and I'm chasing my dream. Well, that's fucking stupid, right? Like, you're going to have a host of health problems, and it's going to start hindering your ability to even be successful. Well, the reality is mating is the most primal drive we have. So this idea that you're going to lock yourself in a room and just focus on yourself for the next 15 years until you're ready is really a stupid idea, because your brain is going to want to mate. And so you're going to escape into stuff. Next thing you know, you got a porn addiction. You play too many video games. You do all this bullshit. How many Sigma males out there are, really working on themselves, and they're, living paycheck to paycheck? Like, they're not doing.
Did you just say Sigma male? Did you really dread that?
Yeah, I did. I brought it up because that's how they identify themselves. The Sigma male,
lone wolf,
right?
bro. I'm better than
the lone wolf pack over here doing nothing.
Male cope is hilarious, dude. Male cope is massively hilarious. I'll tell you guys a funny story. I made because I was when Seeking Arrangement first came out, right? I started making fake girl accounts just because I wanted to see about, like, how bad guys were with women. And I thought maybe on this sugar daddy site, people will be better game. No. And I remember I changed my name to, like, Bitcoin Sakura or something, and, like, some Japanese girl stock images. And I remember some Singaporean guy was like, I just want to tell you something. He's like, I'm a Sigma male.
Oh my God. He led with that. Oh my God.
And then he sent me a bunch of Sigma male YouTube videos. I swear to God. And
wow. God, dude, yeah. God. It's unbelievable how guys have little game. I spend a lot of time in dead bedroom forums, because I work with a lot of guys in dead bedroom situations. And at least once a week, one of the admins in one of the groups I'm in has to put out a thing saying, hey, if a lady posts her picture in here, don't ask if she's not wearing panties, guys. Like, don't, because all these guys just immediately just start simping and being, like, creepy and skeevy in the comments. And I'm like, that's why you're here in the dead bedroom, because you're fucking creep, man. Like,
yeah, right. Yeah, you're fucking gross. Well, and that's and because this is what happens when they don't work on these skills. They find an outlet, and most of the time it's very unhealthy. You know what I mean? I mean, OnlyFans, the primary subscriber for OnlyFans is married Christian men. Let's just, like, and that's a crazy thing, and Christians get mad when I say it. Why don't you get mad in your church and go talk about it there? It's like they're instead pretending like these marriages are good, and meanwhile the guy's sending some money to some 19-year-old. Like,
that's actually a good segue back to the topic, because that video you sent me earlier, Paul, was with Matt Walsh.
Yeah, I thought you would like that angle.
Matt Walsh's prescription for this problem is, guys, get married, stay loyal, swear off all women, and you'll be safe from this type of thing. And I'm like, there's no buffer from the sexual marketplace. We all know that in this space, right? Like, just because you're married doesn't protect you from what's going on out here.
And the thing is, like, I like Matt Walsh. I like the Daily Wire guys, except for when it comes to sexual marketplace stuff. They're very naive in that realm. And there's a lot of capping going on there, and it's in it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, buddy. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there's a lot of cap going on over there. It's this idea that, well, my Christian values are going to save my marriage. And it's like, that sounds good. Some people are listening who are Christian right now going, yeah, dude, what's wrong with that? You're whatever. Listen, here's what's wrong with that. My Christian values are not going to change the alternator in my truck. Right? Like I can't sit there and go, I'm going to give it to God and hope my truck works. Well, I can do that and take it to a mechanic, right? Like you're not supposed to test God. You're not supposed to jump off the building and say, oh, save me. If you're real, I'm going to jump off the building and hit my head on the, and die. That's not what you're supposed to do. Right.
I think the way God works is you're like, man, God, I need someone to fix, or I need my car fixed. And then all of a sudden an ad for the local fucking repair shop shows up on TV and you go, there's my sign. That's
how it should work. Well, and it's the thing is you have to do stuff. You can't just pray on it and not do stuff. Like you can pray on it if that's your beliefs. Like I'm not slamming on anybody who has those beliefs. Like he's not wrong in the idea that being in a happy monogamous relationship, and I'm not forcing people into monogamy, but I think being a happy monogamous relationship is the safest way to go. 100%, but you have to have the skills to get there. You know what I'm saying? You can't just it's not going to happen magically now because
And I want to add to that too, because I think this is a common fallacy preached in this space. High body count negatively affects men too. Like you can't just the more. It's also a prediction. It's a predictor of failed marriages for men too. The higher your body count is, and I think that there's a lot of nonsense out there. Like these guys saying oh yeah, even when I'm 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, I'll still be able to attract the same quality women that I could at 35 and 25. And the reality is that's just not the case. There is a smaller cohort of women that are going to be open to dating you when you're older. And then you have to have other things to sweeten the deal. I'm not saying that you're going to be a sexual leper, but it's ideal for you to get in, learn game, find a good woman, do what you got to do with her, whether LTR, no marriage paperwork, whatever the case may be, and just move on with your life. Because you don't want to be this guy that's 51, hey, I'm ready to go to the club, guys. Who's ready to pop some bottles tonight?
Right. That's true.
You're gambling with your dick in your life at that point, because you're going to attract women that are a little bit more off too, because they're a woman in her right mind is not going to be yeah, I really just want to settle down with a 50-year-old guy when she's 28. That's not processing in their head. So you guys got to really understand that.
Don't tell my girlfriend that though, dude. She not hear the stream. I'll be 50 soon and she's going to be 28 soon. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, but it's different. No. It's different for you because you're a psychological expert and this is what you do. And you're not what the average guy at your age looks like. The average guy at your age is 300 pounds and lives in his mother's basement.
Or just looks like a dork. Like you look at him and say,
I think it's possible. So you're not saying it's impossible, but there's a lot of work that needs to be done. No. When you're in your 20s, it's a little bit easier to stay in shape and put on muscle mass. But when you get into your 50s, you got the T level problem. Now you got to get on TRT. Now you got to work extra harder to be at the level as the guy in the 20s just to be attractive enough. But it's possible if you put the work in.
It's possible. What I'm saying is the sample size of women that would be open to dating an older guy is definitely decreased. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that.
Well, and my thing is, it's not even about that for me. I think you're right, but for different reasons. Take a look, when you're, especially like me, we talk about this all the time. You're John, you're fucking business guru, right? And I'm working on my stuff too, right? We're trying to to make our businesses do well so we can reach more people in the world, have more effect on people. That's our focus right now, right? Where our focus isn't necessarily on the girls because we know what we're doing with girls. So it's a very low maintenance for us compared to most people. We get the results without having to put a ton of energy into it because we know what we're doing. That being said, like, that's why you want to get to know what you're doing. If you look at, you know, all of the millionaires, billionaires, if you look at a list of guys, how many of them are spinning hoes in their 50s? They're not. Warren Buffett is on a second marriage because his first wife died, and he's driving the same car he's driven since 2014, and he's lived in the same house for the last 30 years. Like, guys who are uber successful in what they do, they're looking for stability, you know, in other areas of their life, to include relationships. Having the dating skills and the relationship skills will give you that. You can get good if you are the right have enough of the SMV and your game is really good. You can get girls. I'm not worried about me being able to get a hot girl at 50, at 55, at 60. I'm not. I have zero worry about that. But here's the thing. That's going to take effort and time now to juggle that, spin plates, do all that stuff versus being in a stable relationship. And I need to be focused on wealth building and building my business and getting my message out into the world, stuff like that. There's more important things. And so I think it is smart to get into a good relationship and be in a good relationship and then not have to worry about that part of your life anymore because you're working on other more important things, you know. But you got to learn the skills though to get to that point. Most guys are managing a dumpster fire throughout their whole lives when it comes to women, and it's crazy. You know what I'm saying? And then some of them come up with the answer. Well, that's it. No more women. Well, that creates mental health problems. It really does, because we're designed to mate with other people. So it's hard to just swear off women and not have mental health issues. I'm not saying it can't be done, of course, but that's a very difficult thing to do. It's more difficult than just finding a woman that's decent enough to build a relationship with and learning the skills to do so, you know?
And honestly, I believe, you know, for every guy, I do believe I would say more than it's a stretch, but over a 10-year period of endlessly chasing new sexual encounters with women is a very negative ROI. It's like you can do so much more with your life than just because all you're doing is you know, I learned this from talking to Brandon because I kind of started feeling this like around 36 years old. He was saying like you're just chasing an empty victory because what do you have from that? You just have like an emotional memory of you ejaculating.
And, and half the time you don't even remember that because you've been with so many women, right?
Dude, I ran into women and I'm like, I've ran into women in Tokyo and be like, oh damn, I like totally forgot about you. Hey, how you doing? Like, I gotta go, you know, like, but because women cost you time, money, energy, and calories. Because when you go on a date, you got to drink, if you're going to have booze or you got to go eat dinner, you know, it's just like from a just a straight up analytical breakdown of time, money, calories, and, you know, logistics and all that stuff. Like if you were to apply that into something other than, you know, just chasing girls, you could elevate yourself, new financial levels, new physical fitness levels, new mental health levels, and then attract a whole new cohort of higher quality women with ease as well. Because I would assume, you know, the guys on the panel here, us versus our 25-year-old versions, like we would just game circle. We would steal the girls from our 25-year-old version easily.
Easily.
You know?
Right.
So
100%.
It's important to understand that you should eventually at some point, it's in your best interest to hang up your player hat. And Shannon Sharpe is a perfect example of that because, you know, he's a celebrity with millions and millions and millions of dollars to his name. And he's had 2 gaffes recently that's really embarrassing. Did you guys know and hear about the Instagram Live situation with him?
No,
go on.
I'll just show you because
okay.
Well, it's audio. Hope we don't get taken down, but I think we should be okay. We should be okay. We may not get monetized.
We can always edit it after the fact. This is why you guys need to watch live.
Yeah, exactly. So this is what happened to him on Instagram Live a couple of months ago. All right.
He just left us
Comments are
running live
hilarious.
while he was banging a chick.
I don't know. He says he was hacked, and he said a bunch of stuff. But that's a lot of buttons to push just to get hacked.
Right.
Or
it takes a lot of effort to go live.
Yeah. And he was, as Donald J. DeMarco says, oh yeah, live cheek clapping. Exactly. So
is that his physique in current time in his 50s though? He's looking pretty jacked.
He looks like he might be on the juice a little bit.
Well, dude, he's all natural. That's just broccoli and fucking chicken.
Yeah, it's
man.
broccoli and chicken, right? That's it. No, I mean, like, well, and that just goes to show, right? Like, here's a guy with, high SMV, right? He looks good for his age. He looks good for younger guys his age. I mean, if that's what his physique is like, right? And he's got a bunch of money, and here he is with no game. There's something wrong with his inner game as well as his outer game. And now he's getting sued and embarrassed and doing stupid stuff with dumb 19-year-olds. You know what I mean? Who well, of course the girl's gonna take you for a ride and see you as a mark. She's gonna get, she's gonna get some sex from this high value guy, get some money, get some new shoes, get a couple bags, you know what I mean? Get a couple trips, and then she's gonna take his money and get it. And she will probably win a couple million.
Do you think? I mean, she was an OnlyFans. I mean, the latest accusation was she's an OnlyFans model. Do you think she was also a worker too? Like he was just paying for it. Like
What kind of question is that? Of course she was, bro. Of course she was.
It's called a loaded question. That's what.
But it might not have. It might not have been like. Well, it probably was actually based on some of the conversations I caught that the media that he probably did just straight up pay her for money, but a lot, just pay her money for like 4 meetups and stuff. But a lot of times though, it's not even necessarily that. It's like the guy's just buying stuff, and then she says, "Oh, can you pay my rent for a couple of months?" No, you know what? I'll pay your rent all year. How about that? Like, you know what I mean? Like they'll just ask for stuff. The dudes just throw money out because if he's got if he's got millions of dollars, if the guy has $100 million, I don't know how much his net worth is. Well, what's a $500,000 to throw at this girl? But a $500,000 is a life changer for most people. Some 19-year-old girl, like that's a $500,000 thrown in her direction, $250,000 thrown in her direction in a short period of time. That's a life changer. Yeah. That's a whole bunch of new shit and some trips and some bullshit and things to put on her Instagram. So, that's what a very, very, very small percentage of these girls are doing with these guys who, I mean, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? Like, what's wrong with you, dude? Like, if I had $1 billion falling out of my pocket right now, I wouldn't be sending them to OnlyFans girls. I wouldn't be paying for meetup. Like, that's crazy. I want an actual, what happened to having an actual human to human connection and genuine relationship with people? What happened to that? Like what happened in this guy's life where that became not important to him? You know what I mean? Where it was more important, because he certainly could get that. He could get a hot younger girl who, if age is the thing and he wants a younger girl, he could get one and have the girl genuinely like him and not have to, right? Like he wouldn't have to say, like, he wouldn't have to do all that and get himself in trouble if he had any kind of game. But there's something wrong up here. This is why game isn't just a outer game skill. It's an inner game skill as well. There's something wrong up here that's telling him that this is the way to get your needs met. And it's crazy.
And when you neglect the inner game, when you neglect game and inner game, like this man has, the Pied Piper will come and get you eventually. He's a 3-time Super Bowl champion as well. He's 56 years old. He won Super Bowl 32, 33, and then 35. He's a really,
the guy's a stud, man. Like he should be getting whatever he wants in life when it comes to relationships. He just doesn't have, there's something wrong and broken in his inner game. And then the outer game skills, he's not developed those to not have this happen to him. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. It's too bad.
I'm sure there's lots of, well-to-do guys that are just like, I don't have time for dating. I don't have time for the bullshit. I don't have time for the courting stuff. Let me just pay for it. And he's probably one of those guys, which is okay. But then you end up in a situation like this,
Well, I think that happens a lot. And I think it's even worse though, in some cases. I think it's very sinister for some of these people who get a lot of money and power, and they start realizing they have power. They realize the level of power that they have over others with their wallets and with their SMV and with their fame. And I think that they go down a rabbit hole of just being addicted to having that level of power over people, being able to cause people to do, we could see P. Diddy as the most extreme case, causing people to do depraved shit just for an opportunity, just for a little bit of money, just for, you know what I mean? And some pathological personalities, I'm not saying Sharpe is that, I don't know, but some pathological personalities, that take a pathological personality, put them in power. There's that percentage of guys who that's what they're doing. They're the Epstein Island people, right? And that's the person who they're not victimizing the girl, and well, they are, but the girl is consensually being victimized, right? She's showing up and saying, I'm going to allow whatever happens. I'm going to show up to Dubai to some, crazy party where I'm whatever, I'm a toilet now all of a sudden, just for whatever. And then they don't get to cry about it and be the victim. As far as I'm concerned, they needed counseling before they need counseling for other reasons. But, but there are some depraved people who will have, it's that power, and they're not interested in real relationships.
I want to add one thing to the inner game thing too, because when you don't have game, which he doesn't have, and when you don't have inner game on top of that, the most dangerous thing that you do as a high profile celebrity like him is you cannot see potential threats that are coming for you. You can't, like if I meet a girl now, I could instantaneously feel if she has bad inner game or not. And my instant reaction as soon as I feel that, I was like, I need to get away from this girl immediately, or someone needs to remove her from my VIP or wherever I am. I'm like, this girl has got to go. And these guys are so blinded by their thirst. That's the number one thing that is ruining these guys. He has this chick and she is out here humiliating this guy now, dude. Totally and irrefutably 100% humiliating this guy. And it's just, she's on here. This is her. Let me just show you something too. To this very moment, she is still, I believe this is her. Her name is Gabriella Zuniga. And she put this here. Stay tuned. Sparkles 9 hours ago. Shannon Sharpe S video will not be released. Accusers, lawyers say it's key evidence case. She is loving every ounce of this attention.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And look at her.
Wait, she likes attention. That's I find that shocking.
She's posting this for her father.
Yeah,
he's been out of the picture for years. You know that.
So, and then look, you could just, I could see the evil in her eyes personally, but look at this. What are you doing?
That point you have though, John, about being able to sort of discern a woman's character. One of the things I tell guys is,
look at her character right here.
Yeah, a lot of
look at those characters. Yeah. When you meet a woman for the first time, I tell guys, it's almost like a job interview. You need to go there. I don't necessarily be pushing for sex right away. You want to see if you like her or not. Do you have any kind of chemistry with her? It's a chemistry test, and you'll get to know her right away. And if you do drinks only, for a first date, if she gives you the skeeve, it could be over after one drink. You don't have to waste a lot of time with her.
Which is excellent advice, and the amount of guys that advocate, usually in the pickup world, that a girl comes straight to your place off a dating app and they don't have cameras in their place and security set up either, is mind blowing to me. Like, it's mind blowing that the idea that I'm going to meet a girl on the internet and have her come straight to where I live with no security cameras whatsoever to show what is actually going on in there in case a case is brought up against me. Like, a lot of these guys don't even own firearms either, which is also crazy. Like, you're going to just have strangers come to your place. You know what I mean? Like, it could be her four brothers coming over, you know what I mean? To see what kind of, to rob you blind. And that happens. And so, like, it's like, but what happens too is I've had, because I've done a lot of work, obviously, over the last 5 years, I had a couple of times clients would call me in a panic. And one time, I'll tell this story. One time a guy had a girl come over straight to the place, and they had a bunch of sex or whatever. And then she called him later doing a pregnancy scare and asking for $1,000 for the abortion, or else, she's going to have the baby and all this bullshit. Right. And I'm thinking well, if you want to give her money, you're just giving your money away. She's not pregnant. She does this a few times a month and pays her rent. You know what I mean? Like, and then it's like, well, I know where you live. And there was this veiled threat of, I know where you live, and maybe I got too drunk. You know what I mean? Like, saying words to imply maybe this wasn't as consensual as we thought, right? Whose word is it against? It's her word against his, with no proof, no cameras.
I know a guy in the space. Well, we all know that this particular guy. I'll just leave him out of it just because of his personal story. But yeah, he got accused of something like that in when he was in the Air Force, and he went through the ringer. He got court-martialed, and the only thing that saved him was he had some text messages that showed that it was consensual. And what happened was the girl got caught leaving his room by one of her boyfriend's buddies, and he told the buddy, and she was like, "Oh, he was graping me," right? Like, and so he went through everyone hated him on base, and it was just a nightmare for him. And so now he puts cameras up in his house. Doesn't have $100 million to his name, but he does that just because he's been through this with some random girl that didn't want to take accountability for her actions.
Right. I got to say, I learned from one of these guys I was working with, David Bond. And what he does is he actually, even when he travels, right, he brings these cameras with him. So the pricing is in yen, but these are the Xiaomi smart cameras, and you could sync them to your phone. And this is like, $40. And just put one in the living room, and then put one in your bedroom, and put them, wherever you want to put them. It's because your house, it's your security. And then what I do is, like, if I'm bringing a new girl, I'm like, hey, that's a security camera there. That's a security camera there. That's a security camera there. And I say, it's because of my dog, but I also let them know, if you're thinking about being treacherous, I'm the fucking wrong one, because what these women do is they don't immediately, and I'm going to go back. I noticed something on her Instagram. I want to bring up to you guys, especially you, Apex. And then after that, I have a bullet list I'd like to go through to kind of structure the conversation for the audience. When you have something to lose, you have to be a person with I don't want to say like a spirit of discernment, like a sense of understanding people. And these women, like her, okay, she notice, they're psychological predators. They notice little incremental things about you, and then they start building a psychological profile about you, and they start thinking, you know what? I called him a pussy the other day, and he didn't fight back. He didn't say anything. Like, And then, I smacked him on the arm the other day, and he didn't really. I gauged his reaction. And he took a step back, like he seems to be afraid of me. And they're like, and they start building confidence, and they start plotting and thinking like, how can I get this guy? Like because these are broken, unhealthy, bad women. This is not to paint like the whole, I'm not trying to say all women are bad, whatever. But in this case, this is a terrible individual. And I want to read something to you guys that I noticed on her Instagram. Okay. I want to read it and just, I want to get Paul Bauer's opinion on this caption first, and then Apex. I think you're going to already knock it out the park. She says, if someone went through my camera roll, they would think I'm the most conceited person to ever exist. And to make it even worse, the screensaver on my phone is a picture of myself. Some call it conceited. I call it self-love. What's that famous quote? Oh yeah, you have to love yourself before you can love someone else. On a real note, I love y'all beyond measures. I'd be lying if I said y'all didn't change my life. So thank you. I wouldn't have the confidence to be the weird hot girl who loves dinos, plain dry chicken, and going to bed 8 p.m. without y'all's. Posted 6 days ago. Paul Bauer, what do you think about that?
One word comes to mind: narcissistic. I mean, I too have a picture of myself on the phone though, because I am my favorite person, and I call it self-love.
I have a picture of my wiener on my phone, so
yeah.
Anyone, they're getting a full frontal view if they're going to try to steal my phone. That's what they're going to get.
I have a mirror next to my bed just so I can watch myself when I have sex.
Right.
Oh yeah. Do you do the muscle pose?
Yeah, that's what gets me off the most. Just looking in my own eyes.
Dude, I was
on the girl. You're just here to help facilitate a transaction of my narcissism.
I went on the Jericho cruise in January, and there's a big mirror right by the bed. I was like, "Fuck yeah!" I was doing the
yeah, but like the thing is, this woman is, and this is so evilly calculated. Like on a real note, let me go back to this. Okay, on a real note, I love y'all beyond measures. I'd be lying if I said y'all didn't change my life. So thank you. I wouldn't have the confidence to be the weird hot girl who loves dinos. Like, what kind of publicity stunt is this? This is clearly calculated. Plain dry chicken and going to bed at 8 p.m. without y'all.
Look how relatable I am, guys.
Yeah. Right.
Well, and I'm not even following this story tightly to be able to, you could see it plain as day, especially with this as being with her attorney. They're trying to win the court of public opinion.
Yeah.
And use the age gap and use, present her like she's this poor victim. She looks like she's being victimized right here. I don't know about you guys, but
yeah. Look at this. Is this Shannon Sharpe's cum? This little spot right here.
Yeah. I don't know. And it's like like this is clearly. I mean, I think we have the perfect storm of somebody who might be. Narcissistic is definitely correct. She might be a full-on psychopath, right? Like we have somebody who's on the spectrum of personality disorder, at the very least, narcissism. And no, this is not an official diagnosis. I have to say, I don't know
take my money.
But this is the signs of somebody who's pathological. And how could you not see that? Like how could if I'm a guy. If I'm what the fuck is that?
Looks like a good girl to me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She's being victimized again. I mean, if I'm in Shannon Sharpe's shoes, right? How am I going to get entangled with this? Right? Like, how could you not see what this is about? You know what I mean? Like, how could you not see that this person is really potentially a predator? You know what I mean? Like it's a female predator, and this is how predators look in female form. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily violent. It can be, of course, but that's
you heard it here, folks, guys. If she looks like she could be an Instagram model, she's clearly a predator. No. What is it that
look? I just can't believe at the audacity of this stuff. Like what is she even thinking? Like, what is her lawyer telling her? Like, yeah, post some stuff to make you really look like you're sexualizing yourself, and that'll really win the court of Oh, she went to Erewhon too. Oh, she's in LA, huh? Wow.
Yeah. Well, in the
what does Donovan Sharpe say? Like a woman who's above an 8 is being paid or something like that. What he says something like that.
Well, I mean, you'd be surprised, dude.
He says a lot of things. I like him. He's funny.
Yeah, I would say, what I do to this day is like I like to interview the girls that I'm, having a night or two with. And I always ask them, like, tell me about the guys that are interested in you. And like, tell me about it. And it's amazing how they quickly, A, open up so fast, and then B, just start dogging these guys. And it's just like the amount of no respect that these women typically have for the average male is astounding.
That's a huge red flag for any chick, though. Like if you ask her, if you happen to ask her about previous guys and they just start dogging on them, that they're shitty women, But if they're like, oh yeah, no, it just didn't work out, like, okay, maybe, but yeah, a lot of people do that. Guys do that shit. Guys will like word vomit about all their exes and how shitty their exes are. That's just terrible thing to do. It's a bad habit.
Stuff too. Like these are all bracelets from Cartier. This one is like I have this one here. This is about like 18,000. These nail ones are in the middle, are somewhere around the range of like 10 to 20,000. And then this one here is $64,000, so she's got $100,000 on her left wrist. That too. And I don't know where that little spot went. It disappeared. But again, this is all peak narcissism. This whole profile screams female narcissist and predator.
Right.
And honestly, she's not even that cute, man. I don't know if a girl doesn't have at least B cup titties, I'm like, get away from me. But I don't really, and I think because I have the eyes of understanding how a predator woman looks like, I'm just so turned off by this. And then the number one thing is this: look, despite all this stuff, look at this: 1 guy, 2 guy, 3 guys. These guys are just in there,
just simping.
But that's all it is. We are in a simp economy right now because the majority of men are simps, unfortunately. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they're either, you got a third of them that are sexless and not in relationships at all and show up in these things. And you got this other, 35 to 40% that are in relationships, not happy, going online, simping for girls in some way, shape, or form. And so like the strategy from the legal team is, keep posting this shit because you'll get a simp army to support you and say that girl, you were victimized. You know what I mean? That old guy, you weren't really attracted to him. He forced himself on you. You were trying to make money just to hang out with him, and then he did bad things, and he tricked your brain, your poor 19-year-old brain. He tricked you. Like that's all it is. It's any excuse to excuse her for her psychopathic behavior. So that's the court of public opinion they're trying to win right now, and that's why there's all this. Stay tuned for more. They're trying to get the public opinion to be like against this guy. So by the time it goes into, what they're hoping for really is it doesn't go to court and he settles. Then what's he settle for? A couple million, right?
Well, he offered her 10 million and she said no.
Yeah. Well, they're going to try to get more out of it then, I guess. But I'll be there. They think they can get more than 10 million. And that's why. But right there, he already offered 10. That's crazy she didn't take it. Hopefully she goes down in a ball of flames and gets 0. But that's wishful thinking. I think the simping world is going to pay her off.
I disagree. I think that I think the public consciousness, because, back in the day, white girl accuses, because she's whatever, Mexican or whatever, but she's basically white. White girl accuses big black man. Oh my God, black man, he did all these terrible things to me. And some of the things too she wrote in the text messages are pretty freaking wild. So I want to kind of go through what exactly happened. So it's in April 2025, Sharpe was sued for $50 million by her. It was a Jane Doe lawsuit. She was initially exposed, and then she claimed SA, battery, and emotional distress during their relationship from late 2023 2024 to early 2025. So she's moving pretty freaking fast. Zuniga claims Sharpe was controlling, recorded their encounters without consent, and threatened her, included a recorded instance where a voice resembling Sharpe said, if you say that word one more time, I'm gonna effing choke the S out of you when I see you. So if you're with a woman who is pushing you to feel this kind of way, you have to exit. If she's triggering you to get you like you're getting angry, that's not the one for you.
Did you hear the voice recording of some of those?
No, I'm just reading some bullet
points.
It was on.
I'll hop in there real quick though, because some of this was role play. So some of this sounds very much like role play, and he would be like, "I'm going to choke you. I'll choke you in front of all these people." He wasn't fired up and mad. It sounded very much like a contrived role play that they go back and forth, which is what she would get this guy to do, right? And then it would be, and then she comes back later and says, "I was victimized."
That reminds me of the Bill Burr bit where he's like, "I got a bad read, Judge."
Yeah.
No, but you're right, Paul. Because they played it on Matt Walsh, and he was saying it very like, "Oh, you'd like that, wouldn't you? You'd like to make him choke you." It was very sort of sexy talk over the phone. You know what? One thing, going back to what I mentioned earlier about the fiasco last year in the Manosphere. One thing that James Sexton said was that if a girl records you and you don't know about it, you don't have consent, depending on the state.
That's correct.
It's not admissible anymore.
Yeah. So listen, that's a really good point. Yeah.
I found the audio recording too.
All right. Well, yeah, on the recording thing, this is really good for people to know. Really important, because when girls will take out a phone or they'll try to covertly. I have a number of people this happened to where a girl tries to covertly. I have a friend right now, in fact, who's dealing with a family law situation with an ex, and this is crazy. He's a good friend, but he needs. I have to help him sometimes, right? So he gets this guy's the man too. He's a great guy, but he has this girl he's dating right, and she was recording him and trying to record him and stuff. And then he would, when he broke up with her, because they were just dating, he was like, and she had some issues. So he's like, I don't, in some alcohol related stuff. So he's like, I don't want to see anymore. She went to his ex and then was showing her the recording for her to try to use in family law stuff to make a case against him. And it wasn't anything like but it was against his consent. Now, here's the thing. It's a felony in Michigan to record somebody against their consent if they're in a place where they would reasonably think recording wouldn't be happening, like somebody's private home. So your private home, their private home, which is why if you do the security camera thing, it's important to say, either the security cameras are visible, or just like John, what you would do is be like, hey, just so you know, I have these security cameras working around, whatever.
For me, it's a veiled threat. It's a veiled threat. I'm like, I wish you would, bitch. Let's go. You want to fucking do something? Because that camera's on. Smile. Okay. Yeah. And then I frame it like, well, you don't want me to turn my cameras off because what if something happens to my puppy?
Well,
think about the puppy.
We can play these manipulation games.
What if you're a crazy ass bitch? I'm not to shut these things off. Like, fuck you. We're gonna watch it later and be happy with it. But I mean, it's not like, I'm not talking like cameras and necessarily private. You don't even need to have it in your bedroom per se. Although some people go that far, and it's not. I'm not advising against it by any means. But yeah, like you can't. My point was, you cannot film. At least in the state of Michigan, in a lot of states, you cannot film without the person's consent. They're not, if you're in a private home, they're not allowed to secretly be recording you and then baiting you into an argument or a fight in order to make a claim against you. All that kind of stuff that you hear about, like that's a felony in Michigan. And in some states it's against law, and it should be, right? Because that prevents this baiting somebody into some type of fight or situation. And even if the guy's not getting physically violent, it just gets used against him. Well, you see, this was this, or see how mad he's getting. Well, and then he beat me up later, and to a jury who, they're not legal experts, they're people, you know, a jury sees a guy just losing his mind and yelling at his girlfriend, and then she says, and then he beat me later, right? Well, the jury's going to be like, yeah, well, I could see that because look how angry he was or whatever. Well, come on, that's bullshit. We all know anger and fights and verbal matches happen all the time in toxic relationships. That doesn't mean that they escalate to physical violence. So, you know, you guys be aware of that stuff. You know what I mean?
Isn't that called being verbally abusive now? Like if you just,
right.
if you just raise your voice a little bit.
Yeah,
it could all be. It's all
you say no, right?
Real quick, we got a bunch of super chats. Shout out to Sheej D. He's making the rounds to all of our channels. Shout out to you. 199 super chats. Hey, did anyone see Paul Benjamin's latest viral tweet?
Yeah, I have a viral tweet. I'll
pull it up right now.
Goes to show I know nothing about marketing. I did not think to make this. I was no prep. I wasn't like, I'm gonna make this a viral tweet.
Yeah, it was about how nurses are whores. That's what.
I want you to weigh in on this, just not because I'm saying your girlfriend is, but because I'm saying that she's on the inside of what's going on behind the curtain.
No, in general, she agrees. Like she has a lot of sloot nurse friends. Yeah,
of course, dude.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. Hey,
if
man,
you guys want to follow Paul on
against her.
If you guys want to follow Paul, go to APX Mindset. This was really interesting. I like how you uploaded the mega pixelated version too, and you still went viral. 2.6 million views. And then just all these replies, 1.9K replies.
Right.
Go check
it out. Happens when I'm not shadow banned. You know, my God.
And then shout out to everybody. We have almost 300 people watching us live collectively off on all platforms. So check out both of these gentlemen. I did not expect Paul and Jabroni Paul to be on the same stream, especially after Apex Paul's latest viral tweet calling nurses whores. Woo Paul Bauer, and then Woo Paul Benjamin, David Coit, $5 super chat. Women being calculating. Beer Club represent, right?
Beer Club.
Shout out to Glenn Lawrence presents. He says, you can't blame these chicks for not having respect for these guys. Agreed. When these guys don't have respect for themselves, agreed. And John, she better have D cups or I won't even acknowledge her existence. Hey, I'm all over for that.
I just need him to be nice. I'm not I don't discriminate in size like you guys do.
I do.
Misogynist.
So there's a couple more things here I want to bring up to the chat. So here's some text message allegations as well. Now the way, and here's another thing too. I want you guys to understand this. When women are trying to text message you and frame you in a certain way, you need to immediately respond to that text and call out the bullshit and have a written record of that. Because here's some of the text messages that were exposed. As you can see, she's in blue. She says, but I cried when you left because I begged you to put on a condom and not put it in my ass, and you didn't listen. I don't care what our history is. No means no, Shannon.
Oh my God. That's like,
I don't know. Yeah.
Flashing in the face like I'm setting you up.
Yeah. She then says, I don't know how to process this. And he says, can I call you later? Other text messages were exposed, and they have her saying this related to the Instagram Live thing that I played.
So he, in the text, he didn't respond to that with an acknowledgement. He said, let me call you later.
Yeah. Cause he's 56. He doesn't get it.
Yeah. But that's still even better. Cause you're not admitting any kind of fault in there, or you're not deering. You're like, well, you said, and like all this kind of stuff, which could be used against you. He basically said, let me call you later.
It off if I went in your ass, you know. Like,
it's kind of like when
it's kind of
like when you get arrested for, you know, manslaughter, right? For whatever reason. So I have
I'm just kidding.
Jesus. So I have a USCCA insurance because I conceal carry, and they give you a card and they straight up tell you, if you have to shoot someone in self-defense, call the cops, tell them what happened, but just be like, I shot someone, come to my house, right? But be very, direct with it.
Call your lawyer first.
Well, so here's the thing, right? They, when the cops show up, you hand them the card that they give you because they provide you a lawyer. That's one of the best things of having USCCA is they provide you a lawyer, and lawyers are expensive. So it's good to, pay $30 a month and you get an attorney. You hand the cops the card that says, I'm happy to help you with this, but I must first talk to my attorney before I talk to you. And it's because anything you say can be used against you. So the less you say, the better. And cops aren't your fucking friends. So, so same kind of situation here. If he didn't say anything, I think that's actually a smarter move to say, well, let me call you later, and just not even acknowledge what the fuck she said. Right.
Well, sure. I agree. Yeah.
I want to continue with the text messages. And then she sent that same, looks like the same photo from her on her Instagram. She sent an attachment. When I'm 152 pounds, but you can't touch me because you cheated on me on Instagram Live with Michelle. She was talking about the other girl. So another thing is, when a woman really likes you, she keeps tabs on other women that are always kind of after you. They're trying to protect the bag. And then she wrote this. I've always wanted a black baby.
Jeez.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
No, you do not. Here is the recording played.
I adopted mine. It's a true story. It's a true story. Kid's totally black. It is.
Here's the recording.
They think I'm a part of white supremacist group, but I'm not. I have a black kid.
So here's the recording of what kind of she framed as this was bad stuff.
Well, you're coming to LA tomorrow?
Yes.
Red flag, she's from LA.
Well,
Where's
I don't
Shannon
know why
from?
you go out.
Don't worry about it, Daddy.
Oh, he's in Georgia.
Well, okay.
Okay, what?
Well, I'm not really interested in getting choked, so I guess we're going.
Yeah. I might choke you in public.
This is a normal conversation with my girlfriend. I don't even know what's wrong here. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. She sounds like she's on so much Xanax. I just want to say that.
Right. She sounds like just exhausting to talk to. Just would you just fucking say what you're gonna say, bitch? I got shit to do.
Here, let's hear it out. Let's hear it out. Let's hear it out.
Yep.
Big black guy chose small white woman.
It's not a good look, Shannon.
Not a good look that you do with the shit you did to me.
Okay, well,
she sounds like, just like an emotionally drained person. And like, that's just such a red flag, but he's just so blinded by his scarcity mindset regarding women that he just still tolerated this, which is
Let me throw something in the mix here. So that sound, I saw that, heard that too when the link I sent you, Paul, we had that, right? That is what somebody sounds like when they're on a lot of Xanax, possibly abusing Xanax. Xanax makes you effectively psychopathic because it numbs your emotions to a point where you don't feel anything. You know what I mean? So you could, in theory, do horrible shit to others and not really feel anything. Do you know what I mean? Just feel very apathetic about that. And that's her delayed reaction. You know what I mean? I'm sure she was entrapping him there too, but her delayed reaction when she talks and that, oh, it's not a good look. Like, it's like she's probably on something, and people we discount the amount of drug and alcohol use that happens among these types of people and girls, particularly who have these problems,
because they're tormented souls. They are totally tormented souls.
Yeah, no, for real. And so, I mean, if she's loaded on Xanax all the time, that would really magnify narcissistic and psychopathic traits. Do you know what I mean? Big time. Yeah.
Yeah. I have some more. So then after that, so the kind of stuff came out, and then obviously Shannon made his second apology in the recent 6 months. Take a look here. This is his official response.
Family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup, coordinated by Gabby, also known as Carly on OnlyFans. Gabby and Tony Busby want $50 million. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about. And I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys. Thanks.
And I think he's going to win because
I hope so. I really do.
Legal battles are not
Shut
about
up and take my money.
who's right. It's about who has the most money. And he has more money than her. And I would say, thanks to the work that we are doing and the work that we have helped to, we have changed the public consciousness in regards to women. In 1985, he would be cooked. He would 1,000% be cooked. But in 2025, 30 years later, with all the work that men have gotten together and crossed notes and be like, yo, guys, sums up with these girls. I think I like how he because she's manipulating too. So he's playing the race card, which fine, go ahead, because she's playing the race card first. But that being said, she's absolutely trying to extort him. And this happens a lot with white women. They target black guys and then, because they want some white pussy, who doesn't? And then they fucking, next thing you know, you get the police at your front door and it's black guy versus white woman. And then, the court of public opinion usually is like, oh, the black guy's guilty, because it's just how it is, right? Women know how to manipulate the system. Women know how to manipulate,
Oh yeah.
I'd say 10 years ago, he would have been fucked when the Me Too movement was at its height.
Oh God. Yeah.
But people are now starting to wake up to that. Like, oh, wait a second. You mean women aren't always truthful? We don't always just automatically believe them? Huh.
Yeah. $2.99 super chat. Thoughts on dating a 24-year-old hottie that's on Vyvanse and a crazy pass? No. She really likes me. We got chemistry. No, you're addicted to crazy pussy. And she listens sometimes. No. You can't save her. You cannot save her. You cannot save her.
Here's $5. Will you give me permission to fuck this crazy bitch?
Yeah. It's funny. It's like, are you asking for permission? I don't know. Do it and do what you want to do, man. You know what I mean? Like,
wrap that rascal, use a fake name. Okay.
Don't. MLD, my official statement, disavow.
Hey.
Disavow, avoid. You have ejaculated. Now is the time to evacuate.
Are you making, I have to ask, are you making good money? Are you willing to pay for your mental health and to be repaired? Call me in a couple of years after she destroys your life. It's fine. It'll be extra for you for not listening to John, though. So it's going to be $20,000 to work with me for 3 months to unfuck you after the relationship.
Disavow.
Or you could just not, go find another girl, I guess. It's funny. He leads with Vyvanse and Crazy Pass. Like, there's no redeeming qualities.
And she doesn't listen to me, by the way.
Yeah, she listens to me sometimes. If a girl doesn't listen to you, she doesn't like you. Period. Okay. If you're not asking her to do anything crazy, she just doesn't like you. So now, he has a huge 2 podcasts. So he was known for his work on ESPN. I think that's why he's in Atlanta, because ESPN's in Atlanta, right?
I don't know.
But he was an ESPN, though. I know that.
Yeah, ESPN's First Take. He has his podcast, Club Shay Shay and Nightcap. He's an incredibly successful guy. He's a decent guy, too. He doesn't have a dirty, bad, freaking past. But now here's the fallout, because he didn't have game, because he didn't properly vet, because he didn't see, because I would I'm gonna say, because he's black, he has some kind of game, so he probably saw some red flags there. But he's also like, well, I'm Shannon Sharpe, I'm rich as hell, this bitch ain't got shit on me. But now here is the here's the fallout. He did have previous allegations from the girl on the Instagram Live. Her name is Michelle Bundy Evans. She filed a $4 million defamation lawsuit in 2023, alleging he raped her in 2010 and latent threatened her. Evan's team dismissed her claims as baseless, and they highlighted her criminal history.
Well, clearly he's targeting real winners here. You know what I mean?
That's what I'm saying. The as you get older, your your sample size of women that are interested in, especially as a higher profile guy, you're going to attract predators because of your success. And if you cannot see it with the eyes of game and then structure your life with frame, you're cooked, because now here's the fallout. Now he has to step away from his ESPN duties, and a potential $100 million podcast deal from his podcast Club Shay Shay has now collapsed due to lawsuit. This is another Johnny Depp situation, because Johnny Depp had the $100 million deal with Disney. Amber Heard fabricated everything and shat in this man's bed. This was all proven in court. He was completely exonerated of everything, but Disney still cut the ties with him, and he's done with Disney too. Officially, ESPN has not commented on this situation, but there are going to be discussions to replace him on the First Take episode, or the show on ESPN. So Tony Busby is known for representing high-profile clients that are like, kind of like just trying to shake people down. And he doesn't have a good reputation. And one thing too, okay, the thing about this, women like her, they're so bold these days because they see every girl getting away with some kind of nonsense like this.
Sure.
And in America, when we just are endlessly jerking these girls off and telling them how amazing they are, what are you, you're a drug addicted OnlyFans girl? Yeah, you could be president and go to the moon and have 17 kids when you're 43. No problem. Well, you could do it all. Get your bag. She, in my opinion, is going to, is going to lose. There's also some other things. Zuniga alleged that Sharpe was engaging in unprotected sex, saying, "Only if you put that baby gravy in me, then you can do whatever you want to me." Okay, so she is telling him, "Only if you put that baby gravy in me, then you could do what you want to me." Probably something along the lines of DNA tests, or if she can get him for a baby, now he's mega cooked. Bro.
Right, vasectomies are your best friend.
You can never get a girl. You can never get a girl pregnant by coming in her mouth.
Rape allegation, but it definitely helps to not get baby trapped.
Yeah, he really is. There's so many things here that could be fixed. It's just
he made a lot of mistakes. Like, it's a lot of mistakes. Do you think after this he's learned his lesson?
Maybe, because this is pretty publicly humiliating. He got off clean with the Instagram live situation. Probably had some other girls hitting him up in the DMs after hearing that video. But then, yeah, this could have totally been avoided, because there's other guys out here that are doing what he's doing. But, people like Ice Cube, Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent, these guys never get caught in the news, and they're out here slinging dick like going out of style, So this could have totally been avoided. Now he has lost $100 million deal.
Yeah.
That's
I'd be calling my special forces friend if that happened. I'm just saying, like, hey, can somebody have an accident? Just joking, but
allegedly.
But yeah, this is why you guys think like you're gonna, you're some guy, you think that you can just, go through life, not figure out game, not figure out things, and you're like, oh, I'll just be rich and get some 6-pack abs, and then all girls will come.
I think a big problem, like all the money aside and OnlyFans girls aside, I think a big problem guys have too is they think that this one crazy bitch is like she's the problem, and the next girl is going to be totally different, and so all I have to do is get rid of this crazy bitch and I move on to the next girl. But they don't work on their inner game. They don't do any of that kind of stuff, and they have the same problems in the next relationship. It's probably not on this level, obviously, but the relationship problems that they're having with this one girl now, they're going to have it in the next one if they don't do that work on themselves. And a lot of guys just never get there. They end up with like 4 wives, and look at fucking Ric Flair, right? He's always doing a one last match. He's almost 85 years old because he's always got one other bitch that he's got to pay alimony to. You know, at some point you have to do the work on yourself and realize that, you know,
yeah, like a lot of people idealize Future and like, oh, Future's the man, Future's this. Future has like how many baby mamas? And, you know, just like that's not the sign of a smart player to have a bunch of bastard children running around and you're buying all your whores APs like he brags in his music, you know. So like you guys got to understand that if this can happen to these high profile men, it can happen to you. And I know it's a lot of you instantaneously be like, okay, I should just swear off all women. No, because you're a man. Your biological imperative for existing is to reproduce. So you're not just going to turn off that part of your brain, okay? Because it's just not
get channeled into dysfunctional things. That's what happens usually, unless I mean I'm not gonna the very very few individuals maybe that become like monks in a monastery and do go that route. Okay, but that's not you. You're playing fucking video games and going and getting Starbucks. So you're not in a monastery in, you know, a temple in fucking Tibet or a Benedictine monastery. You're out in the world, and if you don't learn how to channel that energy in a positive way and have real relationships with women, you're going to channel it in a negative way, and it's going to create mental health problems for you. That is generally what we see. One thing I was going to say too was about is arrogance is the killer here. You know, there's a difference between confidence and arrogance. And I just, you have to humble yourself. And the bigger you get, the better you get, the more you have to really work on your inner game so you stay grounded, or else you're going to find yourself in crazy situations. I mean, I'm sure Shannon Sharpe thought he was invincible because he does have women after him. He does have lots of money. He does have lots of power. He does have people that want to hear what he has to say and who would want, you know what I mean? He has a lot going for him and status. But what happens? He starts thinking he's invincible and starts making dumb decisions. Do you know what I mean? I would say the same. We can start going down the road looking at people in the manosphere who've done that shit, right?
Yeah.
You know, they think they're fucking invincible. And then, well, no, you're not actually, because now you got a case against you. Now you're going through the court system somewhere. Now you're having problems somewhere in your life. Like, you have to humble yourself. That's what inner game does for you. It keeps you grounded, keeps you human. You know what I mean? Because the more success you attain, I think the more important that becomes, or else these are the kinds of things that can happen, you know?
Yeah. Paul podcast, Come On Man podcast. What are your final thoughts there?
Man, I would say, you know, we touched on a lot of this stuff, you know, but I think above all, working on your frame, being able to be more discerning with women, spin plates, keep your options open, test a woman's interest and her ability to follow your lead, and you're going to wipe out most of these problems. You know, like when you start dating a girl too, don't just rush into a relationship with the first girl that is nice to you, you know. One thing that I learned, sort of a good rule of thumb, is a woman's going to push for exclusivity by the 7th or 8th date on average. And that's if you've only been seeing her like once a week, right? Even then, keep your options open, especially if she doesn't check off all your boxes. Okay. And then you got to understand too, that you're typically in a honeymoon phase for the first 6 months to at least a year of the relationship. Everyone's on their best behavior. And, you know, a lot of guys are like pushing for marriage and stuff by like the third month or the 6th month. Like, stop that crap, right? You won't even know who she is for a year from now. So take your time, you know, slow down a little bit. Don't rush into relationships. Guys, if you haven't read it yet, get my book, Get Her to Fuck You Again, especially for you guys who are already in a relationship and she's not fucking you anymore. That book will help turn things around. My next book in the series, this is a Red Pill Guide series, is done. It's ready to go. I need to format it for Kindle and paperback and all that fun stuff. And I got to record the audio for it. That will be out in June. It's called Forget That Bitch, a Red Pill Guide to breakups. So tune into my podcast tomorrow. We're going to talk about the first chapter in that book, which is all about how trying to win her back will destroy you. So I think you guys will find that interesting, especially if you guys have recently gone through a breakup.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. And then Paul, if you just want to go ahead, because I know you want to, your school community is blowing up.
Yeah, it is. Thank you. And tried to post there a few times. I don't know if it's the link is working, but yeah, there it is. Cool. So yeah, join my community. It's free. We work on a lot of issues there regarding intergame, dating, seduction, all that stuff. You know what I mean? And it's good. It gets us away from censorship, and we can have real discussions and interactions back and forth. It's been a pretty strong community. So you want to do that. And in there too, there's some free tools for you as well. I should mention, got some accountability tools and some sheets for you to track your accountability, track your mental health, track, some of your patterns and stuff like that. So you can start changing your habits. And for those, it's interesting that forget that bitch. That's going to be a good book. I think that'll be good. But I have a breakup recovery course that's free there too. You should be able to recover from any breakup in about 6 to 8 weeks, and be over it and good, if you do the right moves instead of doing the back and forth thing, the breakup rehearsal thing, and being hung up on somebody and having it drag on and on and on. And so, because so many guys have mental health issues and have destroyed their lives over women, and in some cases taken their own life over broken relationships, it's just something that I offer to you guys for free. It allows you, even in the worst cases, to process through loss. You know what I mean? And so that's there. It's all for you. Just join the community. So.
Check out Paul's book here as well. And guys, let us know if you like this format of us three coming on. We're considering doing it every week at this time, but we need to know by you commenting. You have to leave a comment on the video. You have to let us know if you like this content. All three of us will come back and we will all go ahead and knock this bad boy out. Until then, we'll catch you guys tomorrow.